Chest up, shoulders back. Welcome to Revival Fitness, everybody, your home for gains and brains. And today we're going to talk about probably the single biggest problem I see in reviewing programs, no matter the exact type of program that it is. This can be 3-day, 4-day, 5-day, 6-day, even 2-day, whatever the case might be. This is something that is extremely prevalent, especially in the modern online culture, whenever you kind of just see a lot of infographics of programs and you kind of scroll through these things on Instagram and TikTok. A lot of the times you might be missing the total context of what should be in a program or more of a split design that you're following, and a lot of time the people that put these programs out just really don't put that much effort into them. And to put it simply, the problem I'm talking about is an overall lack of variation. More specifically, what kind of prompted me to make this video was the fact that I see so many programs, whether it's 4-day or 6-day, typical upper-lower or push-pull legs. Guys will send me a program they say that they made or that they're following from somebody else, and like clockwork, they'll send me 2 days. So say they're sending me a 4-day upper-lower, here's my upper and lower day, and I'll be like, okay, can you send me the 3rd and 4th days? And they're like, oh no, I just repeat it twice a week. Same thing happens with push-pull legs too. Here's my PPL, bro. There's only 3 sequences. What about the other days? Oh, I just repeat it. This is the issue I'm talking about. And you can make the argument, guys, that as a novice, this is less of a problem. Potentially not a problem at all, because as a beginner, you can really make a lot of progress doing very, very small exercise selection. Training minimalism is more apt for the novice simply because they're going to grow no matter what they do. And I would still argue that you should be focusing primarily on the multi-joint movements. A lot of those are going to be with a barbell. And for upper body, perhaps some calisthenics, maybe weighted calisthenics if you can handle that. That's going to be the best bang for your buck. Still though, there's going to be a lot of gains left on the table if you're simply repeating the same workout 2 times a week, no matter the body part or kind of split that you're doing. So let's say, for example, somebody sends in their upper day template, and it's usually going to look something like this. First exercise is bench press, of course. Then you could do something like a dumbbell incline bench, maybe an overhead press after that, maybe there's some dips, and then say triceps lateral raises. Just generally speaking here, guys, this is just an example. This is not a bad workout in its own right, but if you're going to repeat this exact workout 2 times a week, that's when we can start running into some issues. So the main one is going to be the lack of variation inevitably catching up to you. And depending on the program you're doing, you could also make the argument that too little volume is going to fall into the same sort of category. So as mentioned at the beginning, guys, if you're a total beginner in the gym, you'll commonly see things like the stronglifts, 5x5 starting strength, maybe ice cream fitness. You're basically doing the same exercises every single day or a tiny rotation of the same exercises. I'm not going to come on here and tell you to totally rewrite these trusted novice programs. That's a vintage novice mistake. I used to do this too. You find something online that has a bunch of testimonials, that has years of wear and tear on it. It's been proven to work, but you're like, oh, well, actually, I want to add 5 exercises to it. I want to do this and this, right? Novices have a very big tendency to throw a bunch of volume on something that is proven to work, then they're going to plateau. However, I do think as you get more and more experienced in the gym, as you start to kind of phase out of that novice period, once you're adding +5 to everything and it starts to taper off, especially if you get to the point where you're doing squats, say 2 or 3 times a week, right? Just +5, +5, +5. Even if you're not adding +5 every single week, if back squats are your only real quad exercise, that's eventually going to limit you. And the same can be said for the bench press or any upper body muscle too. So if your primary chest work, or in some cases your only real chest work, is the bench press, you're inevitably going to need more variation than that. So throwing in something like an incline is going to be a good idea for the added variety, the different angle, more of a shoulder emphasis than the flat bench. And then something like dips or push-ups as sort of a calisthenics option can work there too. So if you're doing a 4-day upper-lower or 6-day push-pull legs, I would assume that you're not going to have the same volume issues as you would on a typical 3-day full body, especially those bare bones templates like starting strength or stronglifts. But let's say you're doing more exercises than those typical bare bones templates call for. You're getting more adequate volume, so to speak. One of the biggest issues with running those workouts 2 times a week is the fact that you're missing out on one of the biggest benefits of a split that allows you to hit them multiple times a week. The core benefit of that system is the fact that you get the added variation with the volume equated out over the same week. But let's take the example we went over earlier and say you're doing that 2 times a week. So for chest, you're going to be getting 18 estimated total sets a week. Say you do the bench press for 3 sets, you do the dumbbell incline for 3 sets, and you do the dips for 3 sets. And I've said before, guys, I do not think the vast majority of people need up to 18 sets a week. I know the science says 10 to 20, and it's very broad like that, and you tend to gravitate to the higher number. But I believe that 15 to 16 hard sets a week, like genuine tough training, is the upper limit that most guys need. And once again, if you're a beginner, you can be low on that range, around 10, maybe even 8 sets a week depending on your age and experience and everything. You may make very good novice gains on 8 sets a week alone. I would usually recommend at least 9 to 10, but even so, that lower range is still going to give you good results if you're recovering well, your form is good, and if you actually push yourself. If you're not going to vary up the exercise selection at all, that's not exactly the end of the world, but you're still missing out on some potential benefits. So you could benefit more, for example, from going from the bench press on the first day to starting with something like an overhead press on the second upper day. So more of a chest focus on the first exercise to more of a shoulder focus. You could even do something like normal bench press for lower reps with a barbell into more medium reps with dumbbells. Even if you're stuck in a home gym, guys, with not much variety, you can even vary it up with grip. So you could go from a medium grip on the first day to a wider close grip on the second upper day. Then on the dumbbell incline bench, you could also rotate between dumbbells and then a barbell. You can adjust the angle of the bench, so instead of always doing a 45-degree incline, you could go down to 30, maybe up to 65 if you have access to that too. You could also change up the grips in regard to that. And you could even replace the third exercise with something more isolation style for the chest. Maybe some type of fly or a crossover movement, maybe a pec deck if you're at a gym. So there's a lot of options, guys, when it comes to variation. But if you're doing the same exact exercise 2 times a week, especially with the same set and rep range, you're going to be holding yourself back. Even simply varying up the rep range, and maybe even using a percentage of the first day onto the second day, or more of a strength day than a hypertrophy day, even though I hate that word, that can also work too. And this is especially true with the bigger muscles like the legs and the back, because there's a lot of potential variation inherently with those muscles. So if you're only doing back squats for your quads, those are not going to be the best quad exercise in general. You can alleviate some of the stress off of the low back and other muscles if you kind of have elevated heeled shoes and do high bar style squatting. Even so, though, squats are going to involve a lot of other muscles than just the quads. So you could benefit from adding in things like a split squat, maybe leg extensions, lunges, other machines like a leg press, for instance. Same with the back. If you're going to do lat pull downs and pull-ups on one day, that's more sort of lat focused. You could take the other upper day, those back exercises, to do more things for the traps. Maybe a shrug, upright rows, that type of thing. So we can go down all of the potential body parts, guys. This would go on forever, but you get the point I'm making. More variation is one of the cruxes of the benefits of a 4-day or 6-day split. Any split whenever you're going to be able to hit these movement patterns 2 times a week, or even more than that, more variation is one of the core components of why they're so effective. So don't neglect that if you're doing so right now. And that ties into another reason, a smaller but still legitimate reason for why you need to rotate exercises more, is overuse. So if you're doing the straight bar bench press twice a week, there's a fair chance that you're going to encounter some shoulder, elbow, or wrist problems than if you were going to switch it up with different types of weight or bars or something like that. The same especially can be said for squats and deadlifts. Especially when these guys hit me up and they're deadlifting 2 times a week. And they're like, man, my low back is sore a lot. It's like, yeah, you think? They're going to do deadlifts or Romanian deadlifts and back squats. Some of these guys want to do 5x5 on both of those exercises 2 times a week. If you're a total beginner and not that strong yet, you could probably get away with that, but if you're remotely experienced and strong, you're closer to the intermediate phase of things, that's going to bury you pretty fast, I would wager to say. So the overuse thing also becomes a major issue, especially as you become very, very strong, guys. The more advanced you get in the gym, I think you can make the argument that the more variation you inherently need, just to keep your tendons and joints and all of those other small things fresh. A lot of guys only have the mindset that training is just to get the big muscles, but if you're into serious exercises, guys, especially for strength, your joints and tendons are going to take a beating too. You have to keep that in mind in terms of recovery and swapping out exercises as well. But that's another benefit too, right? Because you're not going to have to deload as frequently, which should be the goal. I've said before that deloads are beneficial in a lot of cases, but a lot of people, I think, when they take these very frequent deloads, part of the reason is because they're just doing the same exercises over and over without the proper variation to give their body a break. So no matter how you look at this, guys, whether your main goal is aesthetics, hypertrophy, strength, power building, all this stuff that is ultimately pretty related, you're not going to miss out on anything from more variation in the gym unless you just do excessive variation that turns into junk volume. Keep your core exercises pretty similar, focus and hone in on them, but a level of variation, especially for the more accessory movements, is going to give you more gains and more bang for your buck in the gym. So I hope this has been helpful, guys. Be sure to let me know if it was in the comments down below and hit me up with any questions you have down there. Big shout out, as always, to the Patreon supporters and the channel members. You can reach me there or via email for questions you have about your own training right now. Online coaching, custom programs, and consultations are available. Be sure to check out some of my discount codes as well to get great deals on some useful products. And I will catch you guys next time.